Welcome back to BalaCore Fitness Show here on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. I'm Ellen Como, your host, and we're talking about a subject nobody ever wants to talk about, and that is menopause, and a project that I'm working on, going through menopause, feeling beautiful, strong, and sexy. And beautiful, strong, and sexy usually isn't in the same sentence as menopause, is it? But it can be. And that's what we're talking about today. And I'm going to have to come up with my guy version for the men. They're strong, sexy, and gorgeous, right? Or handsome. So I'll come up with their three words as well. And we were talking about specifically a guideline in the last segment about nutrition and about fitness. But now we're going to talk about the other stuff. And the other stuff that really affects all of us when we're going through changes. How do we go through these changes feeling beautiful, strong, and sexy? And what are some of the things that nobody wants to talk about that you might not know that the person that is going through it feels the same way you do about certain things. And I'm going through all of the symptoms, and I have all of them. And I have made it a choice that I'm going to go through this time in my life with as much poise, grace, and beauty as I possibly can. And that means standing in front of the room, sometimes teaching a class in a full-blown hot flash, and being on the air just now and a full-blown hot flash, and being able to be okay, not giving up and saying, that's it, life is over as I know it. Well, maybe parts of my life that I knew are over as I knew them, but that doesn't mean that the new parts aren't going to be better than they ever have been. Because now I'm going to talk about some of the positives of going through this change of life. Women become more creative when they go through menopause. We are nurturers by nature. That does not stop. We will still be the nurturers of our children and of our husbands and our spouses and our partners and things. We will still be those nurturers. We can't help it. It's ingrained in us, but it changes. There's a part of us that makes a little subtle shift where we allowed our children to kind of go through their journey on their own now. And we are very nurturing with our husbands and the men in our lives, but we're also very aware about who we are as women and going out there and making our own stamp. And how can we help? What can we do? If you notice, most charities that are run in this valley and other valleys, the women that are running these charities are a little bit on the older side because they have the time. They don't have the young kids in school. Now, there are some women that do have the younger children that are also very involved and do so much for this community and are amazing women. But women that their kids are older, they're in college or out there working and doing their thing, they don't need us as much as moms in that same everyday constant role. Now it's our time to go out and do something and give back. Interestingly enough, it even says, and it says it even in the Bible, to be a mentor. And it's so true. As we go through menopause, we should be mentors to the younger women coming behind us. And as a mentor, you always think of that elder. They use the word elder. And when you think of that word, to me, elder had this like kind of, how you have that vision above your head and that little, whatever that thing is that they say that you have over your head, like a little cartoon. My vision of an elder always was an older woman, like with longer gray hair, a lot of wrinkles, sitting in a rocking chair. That was my vision of an elder. And that doesn't need to be the vision of an elder. An elder now and a mentor now should be, and we should desire to be, women that take great care of ourselves, that are lights, that have energy, where we're sharing our life experience, but we're also, as mentors, giving these younger women something to look towards and wanting to be more like us. And that, I have so many women and younger girls coming to me and saying, when I'm in my 50s, I want to look like you, or I want to be able to do what you do, or they have different things that they look up to. And I'm sure if you're in your 50s, you have women coming up and saying that to younger girls coming up and saying that to you. Well, to me, that put a greater example on me to take better care of myself, to show them that, because that's something that I believe in. And so as a mentor, it holds me to a higher standard to take better care of myself in all ways, and to not give in to the fact that we're going through this change. And also go through it with a sense of humor. You need a sense of humor because things are going to happen that are very, very uncomfortable at times for you, and it's okay. So, and I want you to embrace those times as well, because they're part of who makes us who we are. So we're getting more creative. We're out there being able to make a stamp. We have the time to be able to give to others. We get to be mentors. We get to be more creative with what we want to do. We also get to know who we are a little bit more. And by knowing who we are a little bit more, we can be better partners to our husbands or our boyfriends or the men in our lives because we have the security that we didn't have maybe 10 years ago. Things that we were insecure about or didn't feel good about. Now we get it. We know it. And by doing that, we can give a comfort and we can give a stability to the men in our lives because we have that. So that's another great feature of the changes that we're going through. So we have all these things that are around us that are beautiful, that we can embrace. And you can look at it any way you want to look at it. I've decided to focus on the positive parts of going through this. Yes, those annoying parts are there. They're not going to go away. But I've decided to focus on the good parts. And I decided to go through it where everyone's going, gosh, I can't believe how well she's going through menopause. I want to be that standard of, she's doing this really well. Wow, I like this. Because what that does is when you are a mentor and when you have that ability and you can do that, you allow other people, other women, younger women behind you to come up and take on the same way. And in my life, and there's been different phases of my life where I've didn't even know it, but I've been inspiration to somebody because of a trial. And if you notice, every time we go through trials and every time we go through the hardships in our life, those are the times that we become the mentors. Those are the opportunities that we have to share our journeys. Those are the opportunities that we have to share our testimonies with others. They don't come from our great times. Our great times are the times that we talk about and we celebrate. But the times that we struggle or the times that we go through difficulties, the trials that we go through in our lives, those are the things that we can use in order to enrich and help other people's lives. So if you look at it, that's how I'm kind of going to be walking right through menopause. I'm walking through menopause as a way that I can turn around and I can be a voice to the younger women coming up through menopause behind me so they can see there's a lot of positives. It's not just about the negatives. And for men too, men don't even want to know they go through it. And if they want to stay there in that place, I think that's a really good place for them. But they are going to go through some changes. So I'm going to more focus on what women go through right now more than what the men go through emotionally because I'm not a man. And I don't want to speak to being a man because I don't want to be ever a man. I want to be a woman. I want to enjoy them, but I don't want to be them. And I don't want to speak for them because I think that would be really irresponsible of me. So I'm going to stick to women right now. Okay, if you do have children, they might not want to listen to what I'm about to talk about. So I'm going to talk quickly about another subject, and then I'm going to get to something that might be something that you don't want your younger kids to hear. So if they're in the room or in your car, you might want to turn down the volume. All the women, and it's kind of a joke, and not really a joke, but women, we try to joke about it to make it good. Our bodies change. And the biggest desire for us as women is to please the men in our lives, and in all ways. And I've heard so many women say, now that I'm going through menopause, all the feelings neck down are gone. And that when I heard that, I didn't really understand that. I didn't understand that what they were trying to say because I haven't experienced that. And I was trying to understand what they meant. So I really started talking to women and interviewing them and asking them about this. And they don't mean that they shut down as far as wanting and desiring. They shut down because their bodies shut down. And where they want their bodies to perform, they just can't anymore. So that is to me an emotional part for a woman. So what does she do? Her biggest role in life and what she wants to do is please the man in her life. That's what women are. That doesn't mean we're doormats. That just means that the nurturing part of us wants to have that closeness with the men in our lives. And we want our bodies to work like they did before, but they're not working the same way. So we try to... and I'm going to be really sensitive about the words because I don't want to get blocked, and I don't want the owners of the radio station to run in and take me off the air immediately. But the arousal rate for women, it gets really hard. It's harder for women to get there. And so they have to sometimes use other ways and other means of getting aroused. More before, it could have been just a look, a stare, a kiss, or something very, very light. Now it becomes more. We might need more different ways to get aroused. Well, what happens is the men in our lives start to believe that they are not being able to please us anymore. And this has nothing to do with the man. This has everything to do with the woman and trying to figure out her body. So for men, I just want you to know from the bottom of my heart that you need to know from all of us women that it's not that you're not pleasing us and you're not doing the right thing and you're not doing everything you can do, and we just don't want to just, keep that same relationship that we've always had. But imagine, men, for just a moment, being that woman and not being able to respond because your body won't respond the way your brain is responding. There's a disconnection right there. So there's that sensitivity part that I wanted to talk to everyone about. And I wanted men to know that because a lot of women are really uncomfortable talking to men about this. And then the men start feeling bad about themselves because they think it's them, and it's not them. It's the woman. She's trying so hard. Now she's trying really hard, and she's trying all these things. And then he's thinking it's him, and it can be really frustrating on a couple. And so for men, just be a little bit be a little bit open to some of the things that the woman might be trying to do to keep themselves and to get themselves into the moment with you, and not think that it's you, and don't take it personally. It's something to do with our bodies, and we can't help it. So I'm glad I hope I said that is the best way I possibly can, because I know that's a tough subject to talk about on the air. So that's something that happens that we all have to deal with. And so once we get past that, though, and once the man kind of gives us that freedom to be able to explore our body in a different way, there can be a whole newness to your relationship that way that you both can really enjoy and explore things that you've never known before. And I'm not talking about kinky and crazy. I'm not talking about that stuff right now. I'm talking about the beautiful parts that come together with a man and a woman. So that's another thing that women have to deal with. Aren't we just lucky? But we can, again, overcome. That's something that you can just go right past and keep it with beauty, poise, sexy, and all those ways. Women dressing up is fun, so don't stop doing that. And get up every day when you're going through this time in your life. And I don't care how bad you feel, and I don't care how much you look in the mirror and how many wrinkles you see. Get up, get yourself just dress the best you can. Put the makeup on that you need to put on. Make sure you have lip gloss, because lip gloss just solves everything. Make sure you've got your eyelashes on, and go out into the world and smile. This is the most important time in your life to feel good about every time you leave the house. When you're in your 20s and you're in your 30s, it's okay to throw a baseball cap on, a pair of oversized sweats, and go out and do your thing. And you're going to be okay with that. But there's something that occurs in a woman in her late 40s and early 50s where that's just not enough for us anymore. We want to feel better about ourselves. And I'm really, really asking women, don't give up now. This isn't the time to say, forget it. I'm just going to throw a hat on my head and walk out and not care about what anybody thinks about me and how I look. This is a time you really, really need to enjoy who you are, and you need to really want to and have a desire to dress well, to look well. And why that is it's going to help you get through this experience a lot easier, because when, if you look good, you feel good. If you feel good, you look good, right? It goes hand in hand, back and forth. But if you kind of give into it and give up, you're going to notice that you're going to be giving up in other areas of your life. You're going to start to give up in how you take care of your body. You're going to also start to give up in your relationships as well. I noticed that when women feel good about themselves, their relationships flourish. They grow. It's it's amazing. When women don't feel good about themselves, they tend to withdraw. And that's the saddest thing. That is sad to me, because when you're withdrawing, what you're not doing is you're not sharing how amazing you are with the world. Because each and every one of you that is going through this change has a life experience that she needs to be able to share. And she needs to be a mentor, and she needs to be out there showing other women what you are, who you've become, and how great you are, because you are, and you're beautiful. And so I wonder sometimes, and I'll see a woman either at the grocery store or walk in my studio, or I'll just be out and about, and you can see that woman that walks in a door of any of these places, and you can see how they've given up. You can see it in their eyes. They don't have that light in their eye anymore, and they have that look, and their shoulders are almost rolled forward. And so many times, and I would never do this, I want to walk up and just say, do you know how beautiful you are? Do you know how amazing you are? Do you know how special you are? And I'm sure if we just sat down for 10 minutes and you shared with me some parts of your life, you would enrich my life right now. And that's the way that we need to go through life, is knowing that each and every one of us as women have something to share. We are amazing and we are beautiful. Beauty isn't just about how we look. Beauty comes from inside. It doesn't come from the outside. And each and every woman, there's very few women out there that are really, really ugly to the core. And I would say they probably worked on it, or they're not ugly to the core. They're hurt, and hurt people tend to hurt people. But most women, and I got to say all women, I've never met a woman where I've said, wow, that's just a really ugly woman. I've always said they're beautiful. I wish they could see how beautiful they are, and they could share that with the world. We're going to be right back, but before we do have breaking news, so let me hand this right on over. You're listening to BalaCore Fitness Show here on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. This is Ellen Como, and we are talking about menopause, going through menopause, feeling beautiful, strong, and sexy. And I guess a lot of people just heard what we were talking about, Justin and I, on the break, but it was really good stuff, so I hope you heard it. Because we actually shared it was actually really, really good. When you know, like, the mics aren't on, sometimes some great stuff comes out. So, anyway, here we go. It's one of those things. And that's what live is, and that's what life's all about. And everything happens for a reason, and I'm glad it happened. I'm getting a lot of apologies right now, and no apologies necessary, because I think it's fine. Anyway, we're going to talk about another great part of that time in our life, the changes for men and for women in menopause and andropause. Women, again, like I said, they are still the nurturer, and they're going to be the nurturer. That's who we are. We are made that way from before we were born. And men are kind of the hunters and gatherers, and they will always stay that, because that is what they were created to be before they were born. But as we go through these changes in life, which I think is such a beautiful thing, women start to kind of go outside the home, and then they become more of the volunteers and more helping and more the mentors and doing those things. And men actually start enjoying being more of the support role for the women, and being more homebodies and being closer to the women. And that's great, because what that does is it takes a relationship and it just changes the rules slightly, but it actually melts them together better than ever. So it's a beautiful thing. But what happens with a lot of relationships is, because the man is used to the woman only being in home role, and the woman's only used to the man being the outside gatherer role, and when those roles start to shift and change, there's a discomfort, because nobody knows where they belong. And if everyone realizes it's a natural progression of what you're supposed to be doing, and it realizes there's such an enjoyment in that, so many relationships are going to be saved by these few words. So many, because there's something really special about that time in our lives where we've raised our kids. We've gone out and we've created the businesses that we're going to create. We've gone, for men, they've done it all. Now it's kind of our time as the women to go out and create our business and do our thing. And it can be about, we have that moment where it can be about us. There's a lot of times where we are raising children that our children are younger as women. We want to be successful businesswomen, and we want to have this successful company, and we want to be the best at whatever we're doing out in the workplace. But, we all, in our hearts always get pulled back to our children and to our husband or the man in our life. It happens. That's just how we're made. So we can never give that 100% to business. Now, there are a few women that have made that decision where the family thing isn't for them, and they're 100% business, and that's okay. That works for them. And they're going to go on, and they're going to be mentors, and they're going to be guides for other women that's how they want to live their lives. And then there's the women that are more the nurturer homebodies that try to do the things outside the home because they really, really have that desire, but they're really not ready to do that yet, because their heart keeps bringing them back home again. And there's that little inner conflict, so it's very unpeaceful for them while they're trying to do it. Well, now that their kids get older in their 20s, and the man starts to be able to support that role of them finding and becoming successful, this will give them a chance to be more successful in their business. The women that have made the most successful companies in our country usually start their companies in their late 40s to early 50s. That is, if you look at the most successful women in business, that's when the companies started. They did not start in their 30s. Some did, but for the women that were home, that really, really cared about and had that nurturing toward their home, that's where their priorities were. It's their late 40s, early 50s is when they really become who they are and become successful. So, and how would that happen if the man was really battling to be just as successful and with his business. It'd be really hard, wouldn't it? So how beautiful that we're created that way, where the man's out there doing it first, and then now he's already established, and now it allows the woman to go out there and do her thing, be her mentor, and put her footprint on the world. And that's what we're all put here for. Each and every one of every single person, everyone listening to the show, no matter how young or old you are were put on this earth for a purpose. There's not one of us that is just here because we're just here. We have a purpose in life, and it's our job to find, and our role to find what our purpose is, because our purpose is not about us. Our purpose is somehow, some way going to help somebody else find their way through life. And if we can keep that in mind and remember that, finding our purpose should be one of the high priorities. As we're raising our children, most of that energy has to go to our children as women. But now when our children are up and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, this is our time. It's our time to make our footprint. And you're not going to be able to make your footprint if you're feeling bad about yourself. You're going to make your footprint because you're feeling great about yourself, and you've accepted the changes going on, and you've made them work for you, and you're putting on, right before you walk out the door, you take that last look in the mirror and you go, yeah, I'm ready. I look great. I'm ready to walk out that door. I don't want you kind of sneaking out the door with your shoulders down and a cap over your head. I want you walking with your shoulders back, beautiful smile, head proud, knowing, because your life experiences have given you that reason, have given you that right to walk out there feeling the way that you're feeling. So for all of you, I hope this hour you've taken something out of this to make these changes in your life. They're not a negative thing. Are there some negative side effects? Of course there are. There's negative side effects with everything great. But let's look at the greatness of who we are, what we're going through, and what we have to contribute, because that is going to make the difference. And that is why we have gone through the trials we've gone through. That is why we've lived through the things that we've lived through. It's not to keep it to ourselves, it's to share it. And that is why each and every one of us was put on this earth with a greatness and a purpose, because it's supposed to be shared. So don't keep it to yourself. And not one of you think, I don't have it. I don't have enough to share. Each and every one of you do. You have something great in you. And I want today, just take that time, even if it's just 10 minutes, and find out what your greatness is. Well, it's the end of the hour right now. I'll be back in a couple weeks. I want everyone to go out, find out what your purpose in life is, and always smile at someone that isn't smiling. You might change their day. So go out, have a great day today, and I'll be back in a couple of weeks. This is Ellen Como on BalaCore Fitness on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.